When I look around at my surroundings, I sometimes stop and think, all of this can't simply be by chance. When I look at the universe, the earth, and life itself, I see things that seem to fit together in an incredible way. It makes me wonder how everything came together so perfectly. If some of the fundamental conditions of the universe were different, even by significant amounts, the universe as we know it could be completely different. The laws of physics, the fundamental constants, the formation of stars, planets, chemistry, and eventually life. All of these things have to work together. Even here on Earth, our planet is in a remarkable position. The Earth is in what scientists call the habitable zone around the Sun. It is at a distance where temperatures can allow liquid water to exist on the surface. If Earth were significantly closer to the Sun, it could become much hotter. If it were significantly farther away, it could become much colder. Of course, it's not as simple as saying that moving Earth a tiny distance would immediately make all life impossible. There are many other factors involved, including the atmosphere, greenhouse gases, the oceans, and the way Earth interacts with the rest of the solar system. But when you step back and look at the whole picture, it is remarkable that we live on a planet with the conditions necessary for life. And as a Christian, when I look at all of this, I see God's design. I believe God built this. I believe God designed this. I see God's fingerprints everywhere. I see it in the universe. I see it in the earth. And I see it most clearly when I look at the human body. Think about the human body. Look at the way our bones are connected. Look at the way our joints articulate. Look at the way muscles, tendons, ligaments, nerves, and bones all work together to allow us to move. Look at the heart. The heart isn't simply a pump sitting by itself. It is part of an incredibly complicated system. It pumps blood through an enormous network of blood vessels. The blood carries oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. The lungs put oxygen into the blood. The kidneys filter the blood. The brain controls countless processes. The nervous system communicates throughout the body. Hormones regulate different functions. Cells reproduce. Tissues repair themselves. And all of these systems depend on one another. The more you learn about the human body, the more complicated it becomes. And what amazes me is that even though human beings have created some incredible machines, we still can't come close to reproducing the complexity of the human body. In fact, a lot of human technology is inspired by nature. We look at birds when we design aircraft. We study animals when we build robots. We develop artificial joints by studying the way human joints work. We build machines that imitate things we already find in nature. In other words, human beings look at the natural world for ideas. And yet, even with everything we have learned, our technology still doesn't come close to the complexity and interconnectedness of the human body. That makes me think, maybe there is something much deeper going on. Science can explain how many of these systems work. Science can study the mechanisms. It can measure them. It can experiment with them. But that doesn't necessarily answer the deeper question. Why does any of this exist in the first place? Why is there something rather than nothing? Why does the universe have the laws that it has? Why does life exist? And does all of this ultimately have a purpose? As a Christian, I believe it does. I believe there is a creator behind it. I don't claim to have all the answers. None of us do. Life is strange because we don't have all the answers. There is still so much we don't understand. But when I look at life, it seems to work with purpose. And then something happened to me that made me think about all of this in a different way. I took my father to the hospital for an outpatient procedure. While I was there, I met an older man. He was a Pentecostal pastor, probably in his early 70s. He was there with his wife. He started talking to me. We ended up having a conversation. His wife was having a serious heart procedure. She needed an aortic valve replaced. He jokingly told me that they were putting in a cow valve. And as funny as the way he said it was actually true. They were using a valve made from animal tissue. You could tell he was worried. This was his wife. They had been married for more than 50 years. Imagine being married to someone for more than half a century, and then having to sit in a hospital while that person undergoes a major heart procedure. I'm sure there was fear there. But what really stood out to me was what he said about the doctors. He didn't reject medicine. He didn't say that they didn't need doctors. He didn't act like faith meant ignoring modern medicine. Instead, he said that the doctors weren't working alone. He was thankful for the doctors. And he was thankful to God, because he believed God had anointed those doctors to do the work they were doing. And I could tell he genuinely believed it. It wasn't just something he was saying because he was a pastor. He believed it. And because I went to church as a kid, and because I've known those kinds of teachings from my younger years, I understood exactly what he meant. And honestly, I knew he was telling me what he truly believed. That conversation stayed with me, because it made me think about something. Maybe faith and science don't have to be enemies. Maybe medicine and belief in God don't have to be opposites. A person can be thankful for doctors, surgeons, nurses, technology, and medical knowledge, while also believing that God is the ultimate source of life and that God can work through the people who are helping us. Think about what was happening in that hospital. There was a woman whose heart needed to be repaired. And human beings had developed the knowledge and technology to replace part of that heart. A machine, a surgical team, medical knowledge, years of research. All of it was being used to help keep someone alive. And yet, underneath all of that, there was still the human heart itself. Something so complicated that we still don't completely understand everything about it. And the pastor looked at those doctors and saw God's hand working through them. I found something very meaningful about that. He was worried. He wasn't pretending that everything was easy. But underneath that worry, there was faith. He trusted God. And he was grateful for the people who were helping his wife. That made me think about everything I had been thinking about before. The universe. The earth. Life. The human body. The incredible systems inside us. The things humans have learned to build by studying nature. And the fact that we still can't reproduce the complexity of the thing we're studying. The human body. When I put all of that together, I can't help but see design. I can't prove every question about God simply by pointing at the human body. And I don't pretend that science has no explanations for how life works. Science has taught us an incredible amount. But there is a difference between understanding how something works and understanding why it exists. For me, the more I learn about the universe and life, the more I see reasons to believe in a creator rather than reasons to dismiss one. I look at the universe and see order. I look at Earth and see conditions that allow life. I look at the human body and see incredible complexity. I look at human technology and see how often we imitate what already exists in nature. And I look at that old pastor sitting in a hospital beside his wife, worried, but still believing. And I think about what he said. The doctors weren't working alone. He believed God had given them the ability to do the work they were doing. Maybe that's one of the things that makes life so strange. We're living inside something we don't completely understand, trying to understand the very system that we're a part of. We can study the universe. We can study the earth. We can study the human body. We can discover incredible things. But there will always be questions that go deeper. Questions about existence. Questions about purpose. Questions about where everything ultimately came from. And as a Christian, I don't claim to have every answer. But I can look around me, and I can see enough to believe. I believe there is a purpose behind all of this. I believe there is a creator. I believe God designed it. I believe God built it. And when I look at the complexity of life, when I look at the universe, when I look at the human body, and when I see people using the knowledge they've been given to help one another, I see God's design everywhere. Maybe we don't have all the answers. Maybe we never will. But that doesn't mean there is no purpose. Sometimes, maybe we just have to step back, look at the whole picture, and ask ourselves what we're really looking at. Because when I look at life, I don't just see something that exists. I see something that works. I see something interconnected. I see something incredibly complex. And I see purpose. And in my mind's eye, as a Christian, I see God.